Imagine packing away your high school uniform. Like you wore it every single day for years during, the most awkward, formative, emotionally turbulent period of your life.
Right, yeah.
And eventually you graduate, you pack it away in a box, and you go off to live a full adult life. You build a career, you get married, maybe you have kids.
Yeah, totally normal stuff.
Right. But then 15 years later, someone calls you up and asks you to put that exact same uniform back on.
Mm-hmm.
And walk out in front of thousands of people.
I mean, that sounds like a literal anxiety dream.
Right.
Most actors spend their entire post-franchise careers trying to burn that uniform. They just want to distance themselves as far as possible from the role they played as a teenager.
Yeah, just to be taken seriously.
Exactly, so they can be taken seriously as adults, which is exactly why the news we are unpacking in this deep dive is just so completely staggering.
It really is. For the first time in over 15 years, Rupert Grint is officially returning to play Ron Weasley.
It's wild.
The core original cast member of this monumental cinematic franchise is putting the robes back on. But, and this is the kicker, he is not doing it for a movie.
No.
He's not doing it for a streaming cameo, and he's not doing it for, like, a retrospective where they just sit around on a couch crying over old clips.
Yeah, we've seen enough of those.
Right. He is returning to the role on Broadway.
Which is huge. He's stepping onto a live stage, memorizing new lines, and embodying this adult version of the character for a completely new medium. So our mission today is to break down this announcement. We're going to look at the official statements, the logistics of how this is even happening, and the broader industry shockwaves it's causing.
Right.
We really need to look at the massive psychological shift required for an actor to do this, and the highly controversial storyline he's stepping into.
Oh, we will get into that.
Yeah, plus what this signals for the future of franchise management.
Well, I am thrilled to get into the weeds on, like, the time travel mechanics and the acting theory, but my brain immediately snags on the sheer corporate logistics of this.
Oh, sure.
Because, wait, let me get this straight. HBO is currently pouring unprecedented resources into a ground-up television reboot of this exact same universe right now.
Yes, they are.
They're casting brand new kids. They are hitting the reset button. So where on earth does bringing an original legacy cinematic actor back into the fold at this exact moment fit in? It feels like two entirely different corporate strategies violently colliding.
Well, yeah, you would assume it would cause massive brand confusion.
Right.
If we look at how franchises usually operate, they demand complete loyalty to one current iteration. But what is happening here is the creation of two isolated parallel tracks.
Okay, parallel track.
Yeah. The television reboot is starting from scratch for a mass global audience. The stage production operates almost as a quarantined physical continuation of the original cinema legacy.
Quarantine, I like that.
Right, because it is confined entirely to the four walls of a theater. It offers this exclusive alternative experience that doesn't threaten the television broadcast, mainly because it exists in an entirely different medium.
And the exclusivity is what strikes me the most. Like, Rupert Grint is joining the Broadway production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child at the Lyric Theater in New York City.
Yeah.
And this is not some open-ended, multi-year run. The engagement is 17 weeks.
Just 17 weeks.
That's it. He begins on February 2nd, 2027, and his final bout is May 30th, 2027.
Which, if you consider the sheer volume of people who grew up with these films.
Oh, millions.
Millions, yeah. A 17-week run in a single building in New York City mathematically guarantees that 99% of the global fan base will not be able to see it.
The news just dropped on August 26th, 2026, and the ticket scramble on September 1st when the pre-sale opens.
Oh, boy.
It is going to make standard concert ticketing look like a walk in the park. General sale is September 2nd, and I expect it to be an absolute bloodbath. It transforms this from a standard entertainment product into a profoundly rare cultural event.
It really does.
Like, if you want to see this happen, you have to physically make the pilgrimage to New York during that specific 4-month window, or you miss it forever.
You know, that scarcity model completely changes the pressure on the actor, too.
How so?
Well, think about the difference between a global press tour for a blockbuster film and a limited theatrical residency. In film, an actor is heavily protected by the medium. You have 50 takes to get a line right.
Right.
You have editors who can splice your best moments together. You have a director micromanaging your facial expressions. Broadway strips all of that away.
No safety net.
None. You get one shot every single night for 3 hours.
And you have to physically project your voice so the person in the back row of the balcony can feel your emotion. But you still have to keep it grounded enough that it doesn't feel cartoonish. And you are doing this for a character that the audience intimately associates with the quiet, nuanced micro expressions of film.
It requires an entirely different physical and vocal stamina, going from the heavily manufactured environment of post-production film to the live, unedited, visceral reality of stage acting. It's a massive athletic leap.
Yeah, and beyond the physical challenge, there is the psychological puzzle of who he is actually playing. When the announcement dropped, Grint posted a very understated message on social media.
Very understated.
He just wrote, "Dusting off the old robes, New York, see you all in February."
A remarkably casual way to announce a pop culture earthquake.
Seriously. But his official statement got into the emotional mechanics of it. He noted that Ron has been a part of his DNA since he was 11 years old.
Wow, yeah.
And the line that really caught my attention was when he said there is something so full circle about stepping back into the character's shoes now that they are both fathers. He described the feeling as being very familiar and completely new.
We are looking at a really fascinating acting challenge here. Because when someone originates a role as a child, their performance is incredibly instinctual.
Right.
Child actors are usually hired for their natural essence, and directors guide them to react honestly in the moment. The kid isn't building a deeply layered psychological profile of their character.
They're just kids.
Exactly. They are just playing the immediate, raw truth of whatever's happening in the scene.
And usually that truth is just, I'm a teenager and I'm terrified, or I'm a teenager and I'm angry.
Precisely. But returning to that same character 15 years later demands an entirely new acting muscle. Grint is no longer playing a reactive teenager.
Yeah.
The version of Ron Weasley he is stepping into is a man in his late 30s. He is a husband. He is a father.
Right. And he is someone who survived a literal traumatic war during his adolescence.
Yes. Grint has to take his own real-world maturity, his own lived experience of adult responsibility and fatherhood, and map it onto the fictional trauma that Ron experienced during that unseen 15-year gap.
So he has to reverse engineer an adult psyche for a person we only ever knew as a kid.
Exactly. He is building an adult on top of the foundation of a child he used to be. It requires a profound amount of emotional intelligence, far beyond just relying on fan nostalgia or, hitting familiar comedic beats.
But that real-world maturity is only half the battle, because the specific version of adult Ron he is playing exists inside a narrative that a massive portion of the fandom outright rejects.
Oh, yeah.
We have to talk about the deeply polarizing vehicle that is delivering this performance, which is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
The great fandom divide. It is impossible to analyze this announcement without understanding the intense friction surrounding the material itself.
Right. For anyone who deliberately avoided the plot out of protest or who just hasn't kept up, the play opened in London back in 2016. It is officially billed as the 8th story. The stage play was written by Jack Thorne, based on an original story developed by Thorne, John Tiffany, and J.K. Rowling, and it picks up exactly 19 years after the Battle of Hogwarts.
Seamlessly continuing from that final epilogue at the train station.
Exactly.
And so the original cinematic trio, alongside Draco Malfoy, are now functioning adults navigating the bureaucratic reality of the magical world. However, the true narrative focus drastically shifts away from them.
Right, placing the thematic weight onto the next generation.
Specifically, Harry's youngest son, Albus Severus Potter, and Draco's son, Scorpius Malfoy.
And Albus is a deeply unhappy kid. He feels suffocated by the immense, impossible pressure of his family's legacy. He ends up in Slytherin, he feels alienated from his father, and his only saving grace is his unexpected deep bond with Scorpius.
Which really serves the emotional anchor of the play.
Yeah.
But the narrative engine, the plot device that actually drives the action, is where the Dutt controversy originates.
Oh boy, here we go.
Albus and Scorpius make a catastrophic teenage decision to steal an experimental time turner.
Because their grand plan is to travel back in time to the Triwizard Tournament and prevent the death of Cedric Diggory.
Right. And in the process of trying to do this, they completely fractured the timeline, creating a sequence of increasingly horrifying alternate realities.
This is where we need to examine the mechanics of why fans are so deeply frustrated. Because in the original series, specifically in The Prisoner of Azkaban, time travel is established as a closed loop.
Exactly. The classic predestination paradox.
Right.
If you travel back in time, your future self was already there in the past. You cannot change history because your actions in the past are what created the present you just left.
Like you throw a rock through a window only to realize you're the one who threw the rock in the first place.
Right, the timeline is fixed.
But Cursed Child completely abandons that logic. It introduces this chaotic butterfly effect model of time travel. The boys step on a metaphorical bug in the past, and suddenly they return to a present where Voldemort won the war, Harry is dead, and the world is a fascist nightmare.
By changing the fundamental laws of magical physics within the universe, the script alienates readers who spent decades memorizing the rules.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Furthermore, the alternate realities introduce character elements that read to many as disconnected fan fiction. Most notably, a character named Delphi.
Oh, right.
Who is ultimately revealed to be the secret daughter of Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange.
Which, I mean, the idea that those two characters were having a secret romance between battles just fundamentally breaks the characterization of a sociopathic villain who is incapable of human connection. The lore contradictions are massive.
Huge. Which leaves us with a fascinating multi-million-dollar puzzle.
How does a script that is so heavily critiqued and in some corners entirely rejected by its core demographic manage to survive and thrive on a global scale for over a decade?
Well, it survives because reading a script in your bedroom is an entirely different biological experience than sitting in a dark theater with 1,000 other people.
True.
Cursed Child is the definition of experiential theater.
It really is. The textual flaws of the script are overwhelmed by the sensory immersion of the production. The physical stagecraft, the practical illusions, the wire work, the sheer visual spectacle.
Yeah.
These elements are executing magic in real time, right in front of the audience, without the safety net of computer-generated imagery.
It's amazing to watch.
It reminds me of those massive, multi-million-dollar theme park attractions. You wait in line for 2 hours, you watch a pre-show video that makes absolutely zero logical sense, and the storyline of why you are getting into the ride vehicle is completely absurd.
Oh, absolutely.
But the second the ride drops, the wind hits your face, the practical fire effects go off, and the physical thrill completely overrides the logical flaws of the narrative. You just surrender to the spectacle.
Right, because when you have Dementors physically hovering over the orchestra pit, or actors seemingly morphing into other people using practical costume quick changes, the audience's critical brain shuts down.
Yeah, the reptilian brain takes over.
Exactly. They are experiencing wonder.
And when you drop a legacy actor like Rupert Grint into the middle of that sensory overload, the draw becomes mathematically undeniable. People who despise the plot will still buy a ticket because the opportunity to see that actor in that specific physical environment just overrides their literary complaints.
Which is precisely the foundation of this entirely new trend we are seeing. Because Grint's casting is not an isolated event. It is part of a calculated strategy bridging the original cinema run with the theatrical stage.
Right, he is actually the second original cast member to do this. Tom Felton made global headlines first by returning to play Draco Malfoy on Broadway.
And Felton expressed a nearly identical sentiment to Grint when his casting was announced. He highlighted that he had finally reached the actual physical age of the adult Draco depicted in the play.
Which is so cool. And the producers behind the show, Sonia Friedman and Colin Callender, they were very transparent about what this casting achieves. They explicitly stated that bringing Grint in provides a bridge between the original story audiences grew up with and Cursed Child's themes of family legacy and the passage of time.
It is a brilliant piece of marketing architecture.
Really smart.
But it also highlights the difference between traditional stunt casting and what we might call legacy casting.
Let's define the difference, actually. Because usually when a massive celebrity drops into a long-running Broadway show, it's a desperation move. You put a reality star or a pop singer in Chicago for a month just to inject some star power and boost flagging ticket sales.
Yeah, stunt casting relies entirely on the actor's outside fame to sell tickets, often regardless of whether they actually fit the role. Legacy casting, which is what we are witnessing here, is fundamentally different.
Right.
The producers are treating the original film actors as the definitive, canonical versions of these characters.
So, by bringing the cinematic actors onto the stage to play their older selves, they're essentially validating the stage play as the true official continuation of the films. They are fusing the two mediums together.
It cements the play's legitimacy in a way that just writing the 8th story on a poster never could.
But looking at the logistics of this legacy casting makes me want to pull my hair out.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Because it creates the most frustrating missed opportunity in theatrical history. Tom Felton's run as Draco Malfoy ends on January 3rd, 2027. Rupert Grint's run as Ron Weasley begins on February 2nd, 2027.
They are separated by fewer than 30 days.
How does a scheduling error of that magnitude happen? I mean, can you imagine the sheer cultural gravity of seeing the original Ron Weasley and the original Draco Malfoy facing off live on stage on the same night?
Oh, man.
The box office numbers would have been astronomical. The line between the cinematic universe and the theatrical universe wouldn't just be bridged, it would be completely obliterated.
I agree. From a commercial standpoint, separating them is a baffling choice. However, we have to assume these negotiations involve incredibly complex personal schedules, contractual obligations, union rehearsal requirements. It is rarely as simple as just asking two actors to show up on the same day.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But even separated by a month, this whole phenomenon raises a massive question about the broader franchise machinery. Why are these legacy actors turning to Broadway?
Wrong.
Because for years, the internet was completely convinced that Warner Brothers was going to adapt Cursed Child into a feature film. The assumption was that they would back up a money truck, bring back Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, and make $1 billion at the box office.
Yes.
Chris Columbus, who directed the first two movies, even went on the record saying he wanted to direct it.
The consumer demand for a legacy cinematic sequel was certainly there.
Yeah.
We saw how successful that strategy was for other franchises, bringing legacy actors back decades later for a new film.
Yeah, Star Wars, all of them.
Exactly. But corporate strategies shift. Warner Brothers Discovery made a definitive pivot, choosing to dedicate their massive financial and creative resources to the upcoming HBO television reboot.
They committed to a decade-long plan, entirely recasting the world.
Right. And if a studio commits to a 10-year television plan to reestablish a franchise with a new cast, they cannot simultaneously release a massive theatrical blockbuster featuring the beloved original cast playing the exact same characters.
It would completely cannibalize their own television viewership.
Yes.
The audience would constantly be comparing the new kids to the adults on the movie screen.
The chances of a competing theatrical movie sequel with the original cast are practically non-existent in the current corporate landscape. The television reboot took the cinematic lane entirely.
Honestly, if you look at this from the perspective of an actor's personal well-being, the stage seems like the ultimate life hack for someone like Grint. Because if he had signed on to do a Cursed Child movie, he would be locked into a grueling studio contract. He'd be dealing with endless months on cold sound stages, acting opposite green screens, doing grueling global press tours, and carrying the immense, crushing burden of trying to recapture the cinematic magic of 8 historic films.
The pressure of franchise filmmaking at that scale is notoriously exhausting. It drains an actor creatively and personally.
But the stage is a sanctuary. He gets to take the ultimate victory lap. He gets the adulation of the fans, the massive applause, and the deep emotional closure of returning to a character that defined his life, but he only has to do it for 17 weeks.
It is a controlled, finite commitment. He doesn't have to deal with the overwhelming machinery of a film set.
Yeah.
It's a low-pressure environment where he can simply focus on the pure craft of live performance, experience the character through the lens of his adult maturity, and then gracefully exit stage left when the contract ends in May.
It is maximum emotional reward with a fraction of the cinematic baggage. It preserves both his mental health and the legacy of the character simultaneously.
It really forces us to entirely reevaluate how legacy franchises can operate. It proves that there doesn't have to be a binary choice between completely abandoning a role or signing away another decade of your life to a film studio.
Exactly. So if you are someone who grew up watching these characters, this deep dive highlights a profoundly rare opportunity. You aren't watching an actor artificially de-aged with CGI, and you aren't watching a young actor wearing bad old age makeup. You are witnessing the actual biological passage of time.
It's incredible.
You are seeing a character genuinely age alongside you in real time.
And for anyone observing the entertainment industry, this is a masterclass in how a franchise can manage its past while simultaneously building its future on television.
It really is an elegant solution to franchise fatigue. But, analyzing this transition leaves me with a thought that is just hard to shake. Well, we have now watched the original Draco and the original Ron bypass the silver screen entirely, choosing instead to cross over to the Broadway stage to play their older selves. They are treating this like a nostalgic, highly controlled, 17-week victory lap, a brief return to the magic on their own terms.
They found a way to engage with the legacy without being consumed by it.
Right. But if this contained, theatrical residency becomes the new ultimate rite of passage for actors who survive massive franchises.
Oh, I see where you're going.
What does that mean for the new kids being cast in the HBO reboot right now? These new actors are about to sign their lives away for a grueling, multi-year, multi-season television grind.
Yeah, they are.
If the original cast, who only had to shoot one movie every year or two, were exhausted enough to demand a 15-year break before returning for a quick stage run, the unrelenting, relentless pressure of modern franchise television ultimately create a new generation of actors who are vastly less willing to ever return to their roles down the line.
That is a fascinating point. The irony of modern franchise building is that the more intensely you demand an actor's presence in the current moment, the less likely they are to ever give you their future.
Exactly. Sometimes stepping back into the time machine is only appealing if you know exactly when you are allowed to step back out.